My name is Ben Campion, and I'm a 17-year-old from Gonzaga College High School here in Washington, D.C. 2 summers ago, I found myself 12,000 feet up on a rocky precipice, pummeled by a torrential storm in the Grand Tetons. I recalled earlier that day waking up with the sun and the chirping birds. We'd hiked through the lush green undergrowth, ever watchful of a lurking bear. Yet now, we were clinging to a cliff face, experiencing a different side to nature's beauty. Through many similar experiences, I have gained an appreciation for the might of Mother Earth. I believe we are most authentically human when we are camping, hiking, and experiencing nature in its raw form. We humans are fragile and dependent on the gift God has given us. In Pope Francis's encyclical, Laudato Si, he explains that, quote, "Our very bodies are made up of her elements. We breathe her air and receive life and refreshment from her waters," end quote. Our modern world was built on the notion that we have a right to exploit Mother Earth, whose sole purpose is to satisfy our immediate needs. And that is why the world is on fire. In 2017, we surpassed 1 degree Celsius of a warming since pre-industrial levels. Furthermore, our poorest brothers and sisters are suffering from the worst effects. According to the World Bank Group, every year, climate change is pushing 26 million people into poverty. Mercy Corps states that 3 out of 4 people in poverty rely on agriculture and natural resources to survive. Their livelihoods are currently being destroyed by the intensified natural disasters, shifting growing seasons, and destruction of complex ecosystems. The climate emergency has exposed the many ills that plague our world, revealing how they are all connected. We not only need to preserve this beautiful world for us and future generations, but we must repair the broken system which has created our climate reality and hurt so many people in the process. This is climate justice. Since we need radical systemic change to reduce emissions to net zero by 2050, we can and must fix our systemic social sin at the same time. Poverty, racism, migration, and economic inequality are fundamentally linked through an economic and social system that perceives people and the earth as resources to be used for personal gain. The same mindset of selfish extraction and discount of dignity make this corrupt capitalistic machine inherently unjust. Comprehending the sheer number of issues and dysfunction in our leadership, I felt helpless and allowed fatalism to creep in. There was nothing I could do to change the world by myself. But then I began learning about the mass social movements led by kids younger than me. I learned that there is hope in our world, that we can turn our dreams of equality, sustainability, and peace into action. As someone still in the uncomfortable embrace of high school, it can seem easy to dream. However, the real world with its increasing responsibilities grows ever closer. I feel there is a certain sadness and acceptance adults have fallen into, where poverty and suffering are necessary evils. It is our job as students to tap into our freedom and dream big. If we don't push ourselves to be the best we can, then who will? So I challenge you, don't accept the problems of today as necessary. Dare to dream of a world that Jesus demonstrated, the kingdom of God. Our fight for climate justice with dreams of equality, sustainability, and peace embodies the kingdom of God. But how do we do this? 1, we must organize our communities with demonstrations, prayer services, and political actions. For example, I helped lead a group of students from Gonzaga to the September 20th climate strike, which required working with the school administration and getting the word out on social media. It was hard to disrupt the everyday lives of my peers, to make them think about their role in our futures. Alone, I could do nothing. I realized that community is our strongest asset, because we are fighting a system that prioritizes selfish gains. By starting hard conversations about our climate reality and sharing our hopes, dreams, and plans, we are creating the kingdom of God. Be the alarm bell for those who still can't hear it. This is climate justice. 2, use the power of your vote to elect a leader who comprehends our emergency and the scope of change needed. Vote for candidates who have taken the no fossil fuel pledge and who champion a Green New Deal. I'm excited to vote for the first time in the 2020 election. Learning about the different candidates has been a whirlwind. But let's not fall into the trap of who's most electable. It is our chance to show each other that we care about having authentic leaders who prioritize humanity's needs. We need to hold those accountable who have been the biggest polluters and profiteers of the destruction and oppression of our world. Just 100 companies and government entities have caused 71% of all global emissions, according to the Climate Accountability Report. To avert the worst effects of our crisis in a short amount of time, we need a nationwide mobilization, enabled by the federal government and led by a massive social movement, supporting a Green New Deal. This is climate justice. 3, we all need to strike and to continue striking. The power of mass nonviolent demonstrations is seen from a great distance. It is the continuous fight of millions of people. Erica Chenoweth, a researcher at Harvard, studied over 300 mass movements and concluded it takes only 3.5% of the population consistently active in protests to force positive political change. For reference, Generation Z, our generation, is 27% of the US population. We can do this. From September 20th through the 29th, we carried out likely the largest climate strike in the history of the world, with 7.5 million people around the globe. It was inspiring to see thousands of students in the streets of DC, walking out of their classes, prioritizing our futures over a missed test or quiz. While fighting for our lives, we still managed to enjoy each other's company and focus on hope in our neighbors. By creating a community with strangers in the streets, we are creating the community of the kingdom of God. On December 6th, we all will strike again. And on Earth Day, we will strike in even greater numbers than before. This is climate justice. Back on that cliff place, I realized we need to cooperate with nature and our greater human family to bear this present storm of climate change. Through one-on-one interactions, you inspire and learn about your own community's interconnected solutions. By explaining the real, tangible urgency of climate change to your communities, they in turn will spread the message of action and hope. This is a cultural shift, and we must continue to enact and speed it up, because we have run out of time. We must maintain trust in each other's ability to change, for this is one of our greatest strengths. So smile. You are informed, passionate, young leaders of this world, and cry zero. Zero emissions, zero excuses, and zero time to waste.